Revealed, how a new nanny inspired the Millionaire CEO's twin daughters to eat again in 30 days. Charlie stood in her kitchen, the scent of garlic and rosemary filling the air, but all she felt was emptiness. Her hands trembled slightly as she finished setting the dinner table, a futile attempt to bring connection back to her fractured family. Sophia and Lily, her twin daughters, sat silently in the living room, their eyes glued to the television but seeing nothing. The laughter that once echoed through their home was replaced by haunting silence ever since their father's sudden death. It had been a month, but the grief felt as fresh as it did on the day of the funeral. Charlie could feel the weight of her daughter's sorrow pressing down like an unyielding winter chill. The girls had lost more than just a father, they had lost their appetite for life. A search for comfort food only resulted in untouched plates and growing worry. Desperation clawed at her heart. She needed help, and that's when Mia entered the picture. Her radiant energy was like a sunflower breaking through the gray Michigan winter. Charlie's childhood friend, now an aspiring chef, promised joy, laughter, and most importantly meals filled with love. But Mia's sunny disposition was met with cold shoulders. "No thanks," Sophia would say, pushing away a plate of vibrant roasted veggies, while Lily's face conveyed her defiance. Mia's tangy stories about her grandmother's kitchen fell on deaf ears. It was as if the girls were wrapped tightly in a cocoon of grief, repelling any warmth or nourishment. Charlie watched with a tight chest, questioning her decision to hire someone who seemed ready to uplift them. Then came community dinner night. Charlie was ambitious, ready to showcase her family's resilience amidst sorrow. But the undercurrents of judgment were palpable. Hushed whispers about Mia's struggles reached Charlie's ears, igniting a flicker of worry. What if the girls connected more with Mia? What if she became a replacement? As she set the table with trembling hands, her chest tightened. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The night arrived, fraught with tension. It had the potential to bring them together or completely unravel everything. Just as the twins made a fragile appearance at the dinner table, Mia's past resurfaced. "You think she can save you?" a voice near the door sneered. The room fell silent, eyes darting around, hardening as the words sank in. In that moment, Charlie felt the fabric of her carefully crafted world tremble. Would her daughters confront their pain? Would they see they weren't alone? As she looked at Mia, vulnerability hanging in the air, she knew this night mattered more than any feast. The whispered secret of the twins' grief demanded to be spoken, and with every heartbeat, Charlie realized the truth: healing could only begin when they took the first step towards connection. Would they all reach for it together? The tension in the air was thick enough to slice through. Charlie took a shaky breath, her eyes flicking from her twin daughters to Mia, who stood there, her smile faltering but her determination still shining through. The laughter of the gathered friends didn't quiet the gnawing worry in Charlie's heart. She could feel her stomach twisting as she tried to read the mood of her family. "Why don't we start with a toast?" Mia suggested, her voice warm and steady, slicing through the thick silence like a knife. "To new beginnings." The words hovered in the air, unsure of how they would land. Charlie caught Lily's fleeting gaze as she clinked her glass against Mia's. For a heartbeat, it felt like the past year of darkness skipped, light dancing between them. "Cheers," Sophia muttered, barely lifting her glass, her voice strained. But it was a sign. A small thread of connection was drawn. Mia wasted no time, diving into the first course, a vibrant salad overflowing with colors. The girls' brows furrowed in distrust. "I swear this isn't rabbit food," Mia quipped, a twinkle in her eye. "Just take a bite. It's my grandma's famous dressing." Charlie leaned forward, her heart racing, desperate for a reaction. Would they even try? Genuine curiosity sparked in Sophia's eyes. She hesitated, her fork moving nervously across the table. Finally, after an agonizing pause, she speared a piece of fresh cucumber and raised it to her lips. Okay, let us see if Mia can work her magic, Sophia muttered under her breath. As the girls tasted the food, Mia began to share childhood memories of kitchen mishaps, laughter, and family warmth. Her stories painted a vivid picture that layered the space with a sense of nostalgia. Charlie watched as her daughters began to physically relax. Each bite seemed to melt the barricades around their hearts, if only just a little. Just then, a shrill laugh pealed through the room, shattering the fragile intimacy. It was a neighbor from the community, engaged in a light yet biting conversation about a baking contest she had just won. But when her eyes drifted to the three women at the table, her laughter faltered, morphing into a judgmental scoff. "These girls are better off without you, you know," she chimed sarcastically toward Mia. "Why would they want a stranger when they have their mom?" The barb hit at the most tender part of Charlie's surface. She felt heat rising in her cheeks. Was the neighbor right? Had she forced a stranger into their midst when they needed motherly love most? But before she could fully drown in doubt, she glanced at her daughters. Sophia's eyes flared, anger boiling beneath the surface. "You don't know anything," she shot back, surprising everyone, including herself. It was the first time she spoke out since the tragedy. "Mia is not a replacement." Charlie felt her heart swell at the unexpected fierceness in her daughter's voice. The feeling of solidarity nudged them closer, like a thin sunbeam breaking through the clouds. Mia's face lit up, buoyed by their defense. "Thank you, Sophia," she exclaimed, her voice ringing with genuine support. "I'm here to bring joy, not to fill anyone's shoes." Charlie's heart raced, knowing they were teetering on the edge of a pivotal moment. Could this be the spark that reignited both their spirits? Could Mia be the one to guide them through the darkness? The door swung open, a cold wind gusting into the already charged room, carrying echoes of laughter. New guests entered, and with them, a rush of uncertainty. "Just wait and see," Mia whispered gently to Charlie, as a sudden realization struck her. "This isn't just about food, it's about rebuilding trust." And with each passing moment, the question hung heavy: was healing from grief truly possible, or were they still trapped in a cycle of heartache? Charlie breathed deeply, her heart racing at the thought of what tomorrow might bring. Would they embrace the chance to heal together, or would fear pull them back into their shadows? The entry of the new guests felt like a gust of wind extinguishing a small flame. Charlie's heart sank as the room shifted again. The laughter went up a notch, but it was superficial, bouncing off the walls like the echoes of unresolved tension. "Mia, my dear. I hope you're not serving that rabbit food to my children." It was another neighbor, Judith, with her chic bob haircut and a floral dress that fluttered as she moved. Her voice carried the kind of confidence that could drown out any insecurity. Mia's smile didn't waver. "Just trying to get them to try something new," she replied, maintaining her upbeat tone, but Charlie caught the brief glimpse of uncertainty in her eyes. The girls tightened in their seats, a flash of resentment flickering across Sophia's face as she shot a glance at Judith, her mouth set in a thin line. "I thought you were supposed to be giving them things they like," Judith continued, her tone unnecessarily harsh. She launched into a bubbly conversation about her garden party, completely unaware or perhaps uncaring of the discomfort she sowed. "Just let me know what you need, and I'll see what I can do," Judith exclaimed, leaving no room for a rebuttal. For a fleeting moment, Charlie felt exposed, like their family was a performance on display, and she had forgotten her script. The way the others were gathering around Judith made it clear who held the spotlight. Sophia recoiled. "I'm allergic to that dressing," she muttered, a protective barrier rising around her. But the tiny exchange hadn't gone unnoticed. Mia sensed the shift and leaned closer to the girls. "Your mom and I had a discussion about different flavors the other day. We could explore how to make something you all enjoy. It was an attempt to rekindle the warmth, and instead, it hung there, suspended, waiting for acceptance. Like chocolate? Lily piped up, her small voice cutting through the weight of the moment. Yes. Exactly. Mia's enthusiasm returned, brightening the room again. We'll have some fun experimenting. How does a chocolate avocado pudding sound? Sick. Sophia groaned, eyeing Mia suspiciously, a smirk creeping onto her face despite her effort to resist. Just trust me on this one, Mia replied, her eyes glimmering with hope. You might be surprised. A hesitant giggle bubbled up from Lily, and for the first time that evening, tension released its grip on the atmosphere, just a little. Charlie exhaled, feeling the burden lift, perhaps not all was lost. Still, underneath, uncertainty lurked, wearing on Charlie's nerves. The laughter and bubbling conversation swirled around her, yet, she could see the clench in both girls' expressions. As familiar faces continued to join the table, she realized they faced more than just neighbors, their own fears were crowding in like uninvited guests. And then, it came out of nowhere, Mia suddenly looked at Charlie, her expression shifting to something softer, more vulnerable. Can we talk later? I think this is tougher than I anticipated. Yes, please. The urgency in Charlie's voice surprised even her. The world beyond their table faded, leaving room for this raw exchange. Before she could gather her thoughts, Judith's laughter bubbled up again, drowning out Mia's last words. Charlie focused on her daughters instead, their faces a mix of wariness and patience. What do you think, girls? She said, pressing her hands together in front of her. Can we give Mia a chance? Silence loomed as they each weighed the answer. Hope hung delicately on the line. Would they step forward or retreat further back into their shadows? As the evening wore on, with heartfelt moments mingled with uncertainty, it became clear, they were on the verge of something monumental. In the flutter of laughter and the long-held tension, everything was building towards a revelation that could either bind them closer together or shatter the fragile connection they were weaving. And as Charlie glanced out the window, darkness settling outside, she felt a sharp pang of fear. Would this display of kindness be enough? What awaited them the next morning when they woke up? But more importantly, what daring truth lay beneath the troubled waters, ready to surface? Charlie felt the night shift again, like the tide rolling back, leaving the shore exposed. The laughter around them faded into a muddled hum as she watched Mia, caught between her desire to connect and the struggle of being a newcomer. The girl's reticence weighed heavily on Mia, and Charlie noticed the glimmers of doubt forming a protective wall around her. Come on, girls, Charlie encouraged gently, her voice low and steady. Just a chance. That's all I'm asking. Sophia's lips pressed together in a tight line, a small defiant gesture that mirrored Charlie's own need to hold on. Lily, however, seemed lost in thought. After a moment, she whispered, "Can we get chocolate syrup to go with it?" Yes. Mia's excitement bubbled back to life. And whipped cream too, if that sounds good. Sophia rolled her eyes but couldn't suppress a hint of a smile. A moment of shared camaraderie passed, the kind that usually slipped away too fast in their bustling household. Charlie seized the opening, hoping it might blossom into something more. As the dinner progressed, Judith's voice droned on about her upcoming vacation plans, while Charlie carefully navigated the conversation like a ship through a crowded harbor. Her focus shifted between fostering Mia's enthusiasm and damming the flood of Judith's criticisms. What do you think about teaching them some of your recipes, Mia? Charlie asked, feeling bold. They love to bake. Oh. We could have a baking day, Mia suggested, her eyes sparkling. Chocolate chip cookies or maybe brownie cupcakes. The girls perked up, exchanging glances of curiosity as the idea settled around them. Let us invite some friends too, Charlie chimed in, catching that spark, wanting to break down barriers instead of building them higher. A big baking party. Judith interrupted with a condescending chuckle, ah, kids and sugar. But you know, moderation is key, right? Charlie felt annoyance flare. Why did Judith have to intrude like that? Well, we can make them with whole grains, right, Mia? Mia nodded, a spark of agreement lighting up her eyes, as if realizing this moment was less about the baking and more about finding a bridge. A nervous energy filled the air. Charlie felt the ebb and flow of emotion like a palpable force, and for the first time, it seemed like Mia was no longer battling an uphill fight, she was climbing right alongside them. As the evening lagged, Charlie stole glances at her daughters. Sophia had drifted into contemplation, her brows slightly furrowed as she tried to navigate her own mind. Meanwhile, Lily, ever the gentle spirit, tapped a rhythm on the table with her fingers, distracted but alive. The guests continued their chattering, laughter filtering through the crack in the tension. The clock ticked away, but all Charlie could focus on was Mia, who glanced at her nervously, searching for assurances. Let's make this a big thing, a whole celebration, to get ready for summer. Charlie said, feeling the excitement buzz under her skin, hoping to draw them all in. As the night crept towards an end, Mia leaned in close to Charlie. Thank you, she whispered, deep sincerity in her voice. Charlie nodded, feeling the weight lift from her heart, but a storm still brewed beneath their surface. Would tomorrow bring clarity or confusion once again? Outside, the darkness settled in around them as if wrapping the evening in a giant, heavy blanket. What lay just beneath the surface of their happy facade? What decisions would have to be made in the light of the morning? And what other truths awaited them in the daylight that neither Mia nor Charlie yet dared to dream of? The morning sun filtered through the kitchen window, spilling golden light across the table. Charlie stirred her coffee, the scent of freshly brewed beans wrapping her in a warm embrace. She felt hopeful, but a tinge of anxiety fluttered at the edges of her mind. Today was the baking day, the day they de-bond with Mia over flour and sugar. Lily bounced into the room first, her energy infectious. Is today the day, Mom? Are we really going to bake? Absolutely, Charlie replied, smiling at her daughter. We're going to make it a special party for everyone. Sophia wandered in next, her demeanor more subdued. She peered at the remnants of yesterday's dinner plates still resting in the sink. Can we keep it from being too chaotic? She murmured, her brow furrowed. Charlie nodded, sensing her daughter's need for stability. We can manage it. It'll be fun. Besides, it's about collaborating, remember? Everyone cooking together. Her words washed over Sophia like a calming wave, and a small smile began to emerge. Just then, Mia entered, carrying a canvas bag filled with baking essentials, her cheeks flushed with excitement. I brought everything we need for the cookies. Awesome. Lily chimed, bouncing on her toes. Do we get to decorate them too? Of course. Mia replied, her enthusiasm lighting up the room. Charlie watched the two girls engage, glad to see that barrier beginning to wane. Before they could get too carried away, Judith strolled in, clad in her business attire, checking her watch. Make sure you don't turn the kitchen into a disaster zone, she said, her tone laced with skepticism. And keep it quiet. I have an important call later. Charlie's heart raced. Judith's presence always had a dampening effect, but she squared her shoulders and reminded herself of the purpose behind their baking session. We'll keep it together, Judith. Trust us. With a slight nod, Judith retreated, a door clicking softly behind her. The atmosphere shifted a little, the girls huddled closer. Right. To the kitchen. Mia commanded playfully, and an excited giggle erupted, breaking the last bit of tension. As they began measuring out ingredients, laughter cascaded around them. Flour dusted the counter and the girls' noses, creating a beautiful mess that felt so refreshingly right. Charlie joined in, hands sticky and full of love, helping to form the first batch of dough while making silly jokes that prompted bursts of giggles. Mia soon caught on to Charlie's charm, her confidence building with every light-hearted exchange. Okay, throw in the chocolate chips, she said, eyes twinkling with delight. After a few batches were in the oven, the kitchen filled with the warm smell of baking cookies. They decorated the cooled ones with colorful sprinkles and gooey icing, creating little masterpieces that elicited cheers and a few giggles. But as the savory sweetness enveloped the house, Charlie felt the undercurrent of something deeper. What if this was merely the calm before the storm? What if the walls they'd begun to break weren't as strong as they seemed? Just then, the doorbell rang, and Mia froze mid-laugh, uncertainties flickering across her face. Who could that be? She asked, her joy shifting to unease. It might be some friends I invited over, Charlie replied, determined to maintain the buoyancy despite her own apprehensions. They had planned for a warm welcome, but would they handle the sudden intrusion well? Can we do this? Mia's voice trembled slightly, a hint of doubt edging back in. Of course we can, Charlie reassured her, her heart pounding with a mix of hope and fear. Just breathe. But as Charlie opened the door, the bright anticipation of the morning collided with uncharted territory. Out there, in the light, lay yet another possibility for joy or disruption, waiting just beyond the threshold. Who stood on the other side, ready to join or shatter this moment? And what truths would unravel when they opened that door? The door creaked open to reveal a tall figure shrouded in bright light, making it hard for Charlie to focus. Hello. Is this where the baking magic is happening? The voice was cheerful and bright, pulling Charlie from her moment of hesitation. Standing there was a woman in her mid-30s, wearing a vibrant floral dress that danced around her knees. She had a warm smile that somehow managed to balance excitement and approachability, instantly making Charlie feel at ease. I'm Emily. I was told I'd find my new charges here, she beamed, her eyes flickering to Mia and the girls, who had peeked around Charlie's legs with curious excitement. New charges? Mia echoed, her brows knitting together. Yep. I'm the new nanny, Emily replied enthusiastically, stepping inside and shaking off a light spring chill like it was mere water. Charlie's heart flared with protective instincts. A new nanny? Was this really the day for such upheaval? I wasn't aware she started, a mix of confusion and concern knotting her stomach. Judith didn't mention it? Emily asked while surveying the kitchen, her expression shifting to mild surprise as she took in the sea of flour dust and colorful icing splatters. The girls began to break away from their group, drawn in by Emily's easy disposition. She might not have thought it was important, Charlie mumbled. With each moment, she felt the dynamic shift. This might have been a baking day, but now it was turning into something else a bit unmoored, unpredictable. If you don't mind, I'd love to join in. Emily said, setting her bag down on the counter. Baking is one of my favorite hobbies. A flicker of renewed joy danced in the girl's eyes, and Mia grinned. Mom. Can we let her stay? Charlie hesitated, glancing at the remnants of Judith in the other room. She could hear the soft sounds of her mother's work, the muted clicks of her keyboard intertwined with the sharp urgency of her busy day. I guess one more person couldn't hurt, she relented, her voice filled with uncertainty. Great. I can help with the icing if you'd like. Emily's excitement filled the room, and within moments, she was sidling up next to the girls, delightfully engaged in their decorating frenzy. Charlie tried to stay composed, watching as Emily effortlessly guided them through piping techniques. As the girls began to chuckle and chat with their new nanny, Charlie felt a twinge of something unexpected, a flicker of hope, perhaps. Was this the fresh energy they all needed? At that moment, the cookie-adorned counters were no longer merely a hub of flour and sugar. They shifted into a place of possibility, blending laughter and warmth into something far beyond baked goods. But then, the door to the living room creaked open, and Judith stepped in, phone in hand, lips pursed tightly. Charlie barely had time to brace herself. Mom, who is she? Judith's voice rang sharp. Charlie's heartbeat quickened at the disapproving gaze of her mother. Emily's the new nanny, she started, unsure of how to explain this unexpected turn of events. But before she could delve deeper, Judith's eyes narrowed. A nanny? Did I authorize this? There it was, the tension behind the joy. Would Emily's arrival change everything for better or worse? As they stood divided in the room, an air of confrontation loomed, threatening to flicker out the laughter still lingering in the air. And just as the first cookie tray began to overflow with icing adorning brightly colored sprinkles, the question hung heavy in Charlie's mind: would this be the beginning of something beautifully chaotic or the end of an ill-fated baking adventure? What would Judith's reaction unleash, and how would it shape this day they'd planned so carefully? Judith took a slow step forward, her eyes darting between Emily's bright dress and the flower-covered kitchen. The room felt suddenly smaller, the air thicker with unspoken words. "I don't recall hiring anyone," she stated, voice cool and firm. "Mom, I know it surprises you," Charlie began, heart racing. "But the girls were really excited to bake today. Emily just came in to help out. Judith interrupted, disbelief clouding her expression. "This isn't just a playdate, Charlie." The tension clung to Charlie like the flower dust that now settled everywhere. She knew her mom could be fiercely protective, but there was something else underlying that sharpness and edge of fear. It weighed heavily in the air, threatening to stifle the joy that had begun to bloom. "Emily's great with them," Mia chimed in, spinning around with a sprinkle-covered hand. "We're making the best cookies. You should try it, Mom." The innocence behind her words struck a chord, and for a brief moment, Judith softened, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. "Right now, our focus should be on responsibilities, not baking," Judith replied, but there was hesitation in her tone. Charlie saw her mother struggle between duty and desire, the urge to control versus the urge to nurture. Emily, sensing the tension, stepped forward, her voice full of warmth. "I completely understand. I'm here to help lighten the load. Charlie deserves a break too, and the girls need that blend of fun and structure." Her calm demeanor seemed to take a step toward bridging Judith's unease. Judith looked into Emily's eyes and then at Charlie. The younger woman stood in the middle, caught between wanting a nurturing moment for her family and her mother's stringent view of how things should be. "Right, well, I didn't think," Judith started but didn't finish. "Mom, it's about balance. We can have a little productivity with fun," Charlie pressed, emboldened by Emily's presence. "It doesn't always have to be work." The corners of Judith's lips twitched, almost forming a smile. Yet, she wasn't ready to let go just yet. "And who says we need a nanny?" "My girls do," Emily said cheerfully, kneeling beside Mia, who had just prepared another tray of cookies. "Sometimes it takes a bit of spark from someone new to help grow stronger connections." Charlie's heart lurched a little. Emily's words were simple but resonated deeply. Her spirit was infectious, even in the face of Judith's caution. Judith's gaze remained fixed on the scene unfolding. The giggles of the girls, mixing with flower clouds and the warm golden glow of the oven, tugged at something deep inside her. Maybe it was the loving chaos that she hadn't realized she'd been missing. "Just be careful," Judith finally relented, her voice softer now. "For now, we can continue with this," she motioned towards the baking chaos. "But I want to be involved too." A wave of relief washed over Charlie, blending seamlessly with the laughter around them. "I think we can manage that," Emily said, smiling at Judith. "The more, the merrier." As they all moved together, shaping frosting and swirling sprinkles, the kitchen buzzed with life again. Judith's initial suspicion softened, transforming into curiosity and maybe just maybe an opening to something new. But as the laughter floated through the house, realistically, it was still a fragile moment. Acceptance could easily break, and Charlie wondered if this was truly the start of a new chapter or merely a sweet distraction from an undercurrent of concerns. Would Judith's acceptance of Emily lead to more openness, or would the shadows lurking beneath the surface threaten their newfound joy? With another batch of cookies ready to bake, a flicker of doubt crept in. Would this pleasant disruption remain, or was it just a temporary illusion in their busy lives? And as the timer ticked down, the question lingered: could Emily help heal the rifts hidden within their family, or would her presence exacerbate the fractures? The warm scent of cookies wafted through the kitchen, wrapping everyone in a cocoon of familiarity. Judith carefully arranged the cookies on a baking sheet, her initial apprehension slowly fading as the laughter of her granddaughters echoed against the walls. She felt the corners of her heart opening, just a little. "Look, Mom!" Mia squealed, holding out a gooey piece of dough. "I made a star." Judith turned, a genuine smile breaking through. "That's adorable, sweetheart. Just try not to eat all the dough before it gets in the oven, okay?" Mia giggled and nodded, twirling around before hopping back to her mixing bowl. It was a small moment, but it sparked something in Judith, a flicker of nostalgia, a reminder of her own childhood. The sight of her granddaughters lost in joy, the flour dust motes dancing in the sunlight, tugged at her. Could she allow herself to embrace this chaos? Beside her, Emily was guiding Ella's hands in rolling out the dough. "Perfect. Now try cutting it in the shape of a heart." Their laughter bounced off the kitchen walls as Ella concentrated, her tongue peeking out in determination. "Doesn't she remind you of you?" Judith remarked, her voice light, aimed at Charlie, who was busy icing the first batch. "Yeah, totally. Especially the tongue part," Charlie replied, chuckling. Distracted but determined. Judith felt a warmth spreading in her chest, but twice now she halted her instinct to control. The memories of tighter days loomed like shadows, warning her against the ease of this moment. Still, seeing Emily so engaged made her heart race with something unexpected, a faint glimmer of hope. "Can you believe how much those girls love being in the kitchen?" Charlie observed, her focus shifting to the joyful chaos. "I see it whenever we bake together. They really thrive when they're creating, don't you think?" Judith nodded, her brow furrowing slightly. "They do. It just takes me a while to remember that. I worry, Charlie. I want them to grow up with discipline. I want them to succeed." "I get it, Mom. But maybe success can look different. Maybe baking, learning from mistakes, messes, and laughter, that's all part of it too," Charlie urged, her voice barely more than a whisper. The words swirled around Judith, settling uncomfortably as she considered the balance they sought as a family. But as she captured a moment, glancing at Emily, Mia, and Ella, her resolution softened again. Suddenly, there was a loud beep, the timer for the first batch. Judith rushed to open the oven, the heat blasting against her face as she pulled out the cookies. The golden treats were misshapen but glorious in their imperfections. "Look at these beauties!" she exclaimed, barely suppressing her surprise at their charm. "Can we eat them? Please?" Ella bounced on her toes, her excitement palpable. "Absolutely." Judith couldn't help but smile. She broke one in half and handed each girl a piece, watching as they clapped their hands in delight. Just then, Emily spoke up, her tone matter-of-fact, but a light danced in her eyes. "You know, Judith, this is only the beginning. Sometimes it takes letting go of a bit of control for real transformation to happen." Judith's breath hitched. Could Emily be right? Was control really the right path? She cast a glance at Charlie, who met her gaze with an encouraging nod. Before the moment completely enveloped them, a phone buzzed on the countertop, jolting the peaceful atmosphere. It was a text from Judy's work, a reminder of the responsibilities waiting outside this little bubble of joy. An unsettling feeling returned, tugging at her heart once more. "I have to take this," she announced, stepping away, unaware of the expressions darting between Emily and Charlie behind her. It felt as if the joy had slipped through her fingers. "Just don't forget what we've created here," Emily murmured softly, knowing the potential for connection had just bloomed. As Judith walked away, tension rising again, the laughter faded, leaving a question hanging delicately in the air. What would happen when she returned to this moment? Could this newfound warmth withstand the chill from the outside world, or would responsibilities snuff out the connection they were all beginning to form? And in the back of Judith's mind, as her heart raced with choices, the small voice whispered, was she truly ready to embrace the chaos? Judith glanced at her phone, the screen lit up with notifications and reminders that felt heavy on her shoulders. Her heart began to sink as she read the words. Another meeting, deadlines creeping closer, responsibilities threatening to pull her back into a world of pressure and control. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out into the hallway, letting the kitchen sounds fade softly behind her. The laughter didn't completely escape her, it lingered in her ears, pulling her back. But she couldn't ignore the to-do list that awaited her like a beast ready to pounce. Why is it always like this? She muttered to herself, half exasperated, half pleading for clarity. As she read through the messages, her mind spun with thoughts. Was balance possible? Could life really be about splashes of flour and sweet chaos, or was there always a price to pay? Before she could spiral further, she took a moment to gather herself. The last thing she wanted was for the weight of her work to steal her joy, especially in times like this. She shifted her focus back to the kitchen, to the warmth of the laughter that had wrapped around her moments before. Yet, every step toward that comforting chaos felt like walking into a storm. Would she let the moments of joy shatter against the cold reality of her responsibilities? Mom. The voice of her granddaughter broke through her haze. Judith turned to see Mia, her wide brown eyes shimmering with innocence and expectation. Behind her, Ella and Emily peeked around the corner, curiosity painted on their faces. Can you bake another batch? Mia asked, her little fingers picking at her apron. It was so much fun. Judith knew she wanted to say yes. Hell, she craved that connection, that laughter. But a pulse of guilt surged through her. You know, sweet pea, she began, hesitant. I really should check on some things, please. Mia tugged at Judith's hand, her eyes sparkling. Just a little more time. The small request lodged itself deep in Judith's heart, and she found herself torn. Here was a moment ripe with potential, her granddaughter's simple wish cut through the layers of stress that had accumulated. Could she be present? Just for a little while longer? Okay, Judith replied, a mix of resolve and uncertainty in her voice. Let us make some more, but we need to be quick. I still have no. Ella interjected, marching forward with a pout. Let us make it awesome, like a party. We'll clean up later. Judith caught her breath, the insistence of those little girls tugging at her differently this time. A party? The idea sparked something in her chest, igniting a light she thought was fading. Sure, there would be flour everywhere, and probably icing on the floor, but how could she turn away from their joy? Wasn't the chaos worth the mess? With a newfound sense of determination, Judith nodded, a smile breaking through. All right. Let us bake like it's a party. She clapped her hands, the sound echoing through the hallway, summoning a wave of giggles and cheers. As they rushed back to the kitchen, the warmth enveloped her once more, melding with her spirit, overtaking the chill of lingering worries. They gathered their ingredients, flour flying and laughter erupting like fireworks. But somewhere deep within, doubt still loomed. Would she really be able to prioritize this joy against the relentless tide of her responsibilities? Each cheerful peal of laughter reminded her how tenuous that balance could be. And as Judith swirled with her granddaughters, a sudden thought struck: was this the true recipe for success, or merely an illusion in the chaos? In that moment, she realized the struggle between chaos and control wasn't just her own. It was a kind of dance, one that required trust in the rhythm of life, in her family, and in their ability to embrace the mess together. But would her heart lead her to let go of past fears, or would the weight of those responsibilities keep pulling her back? With flour dust settling lightly in the air, Judith couldn't shake the feeling that she was standing on the edge of something new, wondering if she was ready to leap into the joy that was beckoning her. The kitchen hummed with laughter, a whirlwind of flour, sugar, and sweet chaos. Judith felt the warmth enveloping her, the walls filled with eager voices and giggling girls. As they mixed, rolled, and shaped their cookies, each moment felt like a small victory against the cold grip of the outside world. "Look at this one!" Emily exclaimed, holding up a cookie shaped like a star, covered in bright icing. Mia and Lily erupted into giggles, their eyes sparkling with delight. Judith's heart swelled at the sight, their joy igniting a light within her she hadn't realized was dim. "Let us add glitter sprinkles," Lily suggested, her eyes wide. The spark of creativity ignited a new wave of energy. Judith watched as Emily nodded enthusiastically, a sense of belonging weaving its way through the air. "Absolutely. This is a baking party. Let us make it shine." Emily cheered, as they all scooped up glittery sprinkles, laughter echoing through the kitchen like a refreshing breeze. With each cookie they decorated, Judith saw tension slip away. Sure, there were moments of chaos, flour clouds billowed everywhere, and it felt like there was icing on every possible surface, but it was a joyous kind of chaos. "Mom!" Mia called, icing smeared across her cheek, "Can I help you with the next batch?" "Of course, sweetie. Let us tackle this together," Judith replied, her heart light. Together, they worked side by side, blending their efforts into a sweet collaboration. Just then, Ella piped up with the most innocent of requests. "Can we give some to the neighbors? They look sad." Judith paused, her heart hanging on the suggestion. Then it struck her, this was more than just baking. It was about connecting, sharing joy, and maybe a sprinkle of magic could help heal others too. "That's a beautiful idea, Ella," Judith said, the idea blooming. "We can package some for them. Just imagine their faces when they get a surprise treat." With fresh determination, they prepared little bags filled with cookies, each adorned with a colorful ribbon. Emily helped the girls write sweet notes to go along, encouraging cheerful messages of love and kindness. As the cookies piled high, Judith felt a shift deep within her. The laughter bounced against her heart, filling the cracks left by grief and isolation. Just then, a familiar voice echoed in the hallway. "Judith! Is everything okay in here?" It was her husband, Nathan. His presence loomed large, filling the space with concern, but Judith was caught up in the whirlwind of creativity, feeling lighter than she had in a long time. "Come see," she called back, unable to contain her excitement. "We're having a baking party." Nathan stepped into the kitchen, his eyes widening at the sight. "Wow! This looks incredible. Join us." Mia shouted, racing over to tug at his sleeve, her cheeks flushed with mischief. "You can help us taste test." With a chuckle, Nathan knelt down, embracing the moment. Soon he was knee-deep in icing and cookies, laughter merging with the chaos of their shared pleasure. Judith stood back for a moment, letting the scene wash over her. Could it be that through connecting with each other, they were transforming something heavy into something beautiful? As the day came to a close, the sun began to dip low. The table overflowed with wrapped gifts of cookies, laughter still twinkling in the air. Judith felt the weight of fear lift. Sure, life would bring its challenges, but today, they found a recipe for joy amidst the chaos. "Can we do this every week?" Lily asked as they admired their handiwork, her innocent excitement contagious. "Absolutely," Judith promised. "We'll make this a family tradition." The truth settled in her heart, a new journey had begun. The connection they formed today would ripple outward, touching lives beyond their kitchen. As Judith glanced around at the grinning faces of her daughters, Emily, and Nathan covered in sprinkles, she knew they'd navigated through the storm. Each cookie, each laugh, was a thread weaving them tightly together, stronger than before. That evening, as they delivered cookies to grateful neighbors, smiles blossomed everywhere. Judith felt radiant one day, one moment, and one kitchen could ignite warmth and joy around them. The final cookie went to a sweet neighbor with a kind smile, and her eyes glistened with gratitude. "Thank you. You brightened my day," she exclaimed, sending chills of warmth through Judith's spirit. As they walked back home, hand in hand, Judith looked at her family and knew this was just the beginning. Healing was possible, transformation was real, and love could be shared like the sweetest of cookies. And as the stars twinkled overhead, Judith found herself whispering a quiet promise to the universe, to embrace every moment, to celebrate growth, to live boldly in joy. Now the question remained, what other flavors of happiness could they create together? Only time would reveal the recipes yet to unfold. And amidst the aroma of cookies settling into their lives, Judith realized that true connection always emerges through the hearts of those willing to bake together, savoring each delightful moment, creating memories that would linger sweetly long after the last crumb was gone. Don't wait one more second. You need to subscribe now to never miss an exclusive story that transforms lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow this beautiful community. Comment your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. And for the love of connection, share this video with at least 5 friends who deserve to witness this vibrant transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Let us bake more joy together.